What's up, everybody? Thank you so much for listening to Your Ex-Drinking Buddy. My name is Brennan Tassif. I'll be your host. Subscribe, rate, and review wherever you get your podcast. Check out the merch store at brennantcomedy.com/merch-store. And make sure you subscribe on YouTube as well. We'll put the shorts up there, the full video, the whole thing. Thank you so much for listening. I love it. I hope you love it. Subscribe on Patreon, too. We do bonus episodes. I do Tales from the Restaurant, where I talk about celebrities I've waited on and whether they're assholes or not, which is super fun. Also, we do a pre-show banter for my other show, Cheers from the Press Box with Joe Dorville. A lot of behind-the-scenes stuff going on over there, too. Make sure you just subscribe everywhere, just all over the place. I greatly appreciate it. And if you're not leaving the mean comments, thank you for that. Maybe leave a couple nice ones.
Grab me a beer and grab him a coke. We bout to sit for an hour, bullshit and tell jokes. And please don't mix it up, cause he done sobered up. Brennan T Comedy on your social media feeds. And Brennan Tassif is your ex-drinking buddy. Brennan Tassif is your ex-drinking buddy. Brennan Tassif is your ex-drinking buddy. Brennan Tassif is your ex-drinking buddy.
What is up, everybody? Welcome into another edition of Brennan Tassif is your ex-drinking buddy. I'm your host, Brennan Tassif. If you're new to the program, quick rundown of the show. I used to be everyone's favorite drinking buddy. It was my favorite thing to do, hang out with friends, get drunk, do drugs, get in all sorts of trouble, and then reminisce about those crazy stories. I am sober now, but it's still one of my favorite things to do, hang out with somebody and reminisce about the crazy old days. Most weeks I'll be joined by a guest. This week is no exception. All the way from New York City, David Estrada.
Woo! Let's get it, baby, all the way.
Woo! What's up, dude?
Good, man. How about you? How you doing?
Good. Before we get too far into anything, because I always forget to do this, plug everything up front. Social media. This will come out in 2 weeks. Any shows you got coming out beginning of next year, whatever you got going on?
Allegory of the Dave on Instagram. That's really all I really use. I got a show up in the Bronx January 10th. I think that's before this.
Yeah. This will come out like the 1st or whatever.
There you go. Perfect. So
28th.
It's called
like
Freshly Baked. It's a dispensary that we're going to be performing out of. And come out for a good time. And that's basically all I got right now.
Perfect.
Yeah.
You'll see me writing. That's just so I don't have to re-listen to the whole episode. Sometimes people are like, you look like a fucking therapist taking notes. I'm like, trust me, it's not that serious. I just don't want to listen to your voice again.
That's fair. Neither do I.
So I wanted to have you on because we met at the Cellar a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, we did.
We met through Greg Melly, the same way I met Tyrez.
Yep.
So a couple of things. I ask all my guests this because art is kind of a niche thing, especially stand-up. How did you even get into stand-up, all that kind of stuff?
So
Wait, first question. I'm sorry. I just interrupted myself.
No, you're good.
Are you originally from New York?
Oh, yeah, born and raised.
Okay.
Born and raised. I kind of hate people who aren't. I don't know if you're not. But...
Hell no. I'm Florida boy. Gang, 386, baby.
Florida's all right, actually. Florida's, like, cool. I hate people who, like, aren't from New York and then like come here and like make their personality like oh yeah, I'm a real New Yorker now, like I can't stand that.
No, I'm full Florida, baby.
See, I respect that. I respect that.
I got the arrest record to prove it.
What part of Florida?
So I grew up in Daytona. I played college football in Boca and then spent my adult life in Jacksonville.
Yeah, exactly. I'm Cuban, so all my family is like still in Miami.
So
I go down all the time.
When I was incarcerated one of the times, I was in there with a guy that we called Cuba.
Yeah?
Because he was from Cuba. But he actually talked like Tony Soprano in Scarface.
Yeah.
And I was like, are you doing a bit?
No,
he'd be like, hey, man, how you doing, man? What are we up to today, man? And I'm like, you're doing a bit. Like, you're doing an impression.
It's like hilarious how much like that we actually sound like that.
Yeah,
like my dad sounds like that. Like literally.
He's like, no, this is how we really talk. And I'm like, there's no fucking way.
Yeah, Al Pacino actually did his research. What?
Yeah, he's like, there's no way.
When people meet my dad, they think he's like doing like a
bit. Yeah,
like a Scarface. I'm like, no. That's just how they speak on the island for whatever reason. Like,
oh my god, that's hilarious. So let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Family's from Cuba.
Yep.
Okay.
Havana.
Okay.
My dad actually came here on the boat that Scarface came on in the movie. Like the Mario
really?
boat lift. Like that was a real thing that happened where like Castro sent a bunch of prisoners to the US and like my dad was on that boat.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, that's sick.
Yeah.
Who played your dad in the movie?
Manny. he's Manny.
Manny, shoot this. That's still my favorite part where he goes, I'm not going to kill you, Fred.
He sold coke for a while because it was the only thing he knew how to do when he got here.
Oh, really?
And then he met my mom and my mom was like, you got to stop that shit.
Yeah.
Otherwise, like, we're not getting married.
When did they come to New York?
like my dad came here right away because my mom's family had already been here for like years.
And were they together in Cuba?
No.
Okay.
No, they met here.
So how? Because the reason I ask is because if I come over and I land in Miami, I'd kind of just be like, oh, this is where I'm staying.
Yeah, that's what he was doing for a while. But his brother had been here, so his brother was staying with like an aunt.
Okay.
Here. And like they
just like kind of came up.
And my uncle had gone kicked out of like their aunt's place because he kept smoking weed even though she kept telling him not to. So then they ended up staying.
That to me that's hilarious. Is that he got kicked out for smoking weed? Meanwhile, your dad is selling coke.
Yeah, literally.
I'm not doing it.
The funny thing is he really wasn't because he was like no, like literally
he's a
like
businessman.
Yeah. He told me about
the drugs.
He told me about the 10 Crack Commandments before I even heard the song. You know,
that's hilarious. So then they end up in New York, and then that's where were you born? What part of New York?
I was born in the same part that they kind of like settled and stuff.
Okay,
like Harlem, Upper West Side.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So how did you get into like doing stand up and doing comedy and all that stuff?
So that I just started in college because
now this is interesting to me.
Yeah.
You grew up in New York City, the mecca of stand-up comedy, but you didn't start it until college.
Yeah.
So how? Okay, take us through.
Because I always liked it, but I always kind of like just like watching it.
Yeah.
And like I liked, I would watch like specials with my family all the time. Like we watched George Lopez, all the Dave Chappelle specials, everything that came out on like.
I love how you led with George Lopez. Like, we
get
it, we get it. You're Latino.
In case the audience didn't realize.
It.
Yeah, dude. No, I mean, that was some of the biggest ones I remember because George Lopez, there was a time where he was like coming out,
dude,
especially like every year. Dude.
He was on, and he was one of the only comics who had 3 or 4 different sitcoms.
Exactly, yeah.
So like in the 90s, it was like get a tight 5 together that you can sell. As because like Seinfeld was huge, Everybody Loves Raymond was huge. Like so they were like just get a tight 5 where producers could be like, oh, we could make a show about this.
Yeah,
like that was the whole thing. He did it 4 times.
Yeah, I didn't realize as a kid like what a formula it was really.
Yeah.
Like, and I was just chowing that shit down.
Yeah.
And like it wasn't until I got
it was made for you.
Yeah, exactly. And like I got to college and then I started doing improv and sketch first actually.
Everyone does.
Yeah, and then from there was like a stand-up club that was like separate.
Where did you go to college?
Stevens Tech in Hoboken.
Okay.
Yeah, so very very nerdy school. But like all the kids who were into comedy were like really nerdy about comedy, so I think that was like really cool.
Yeah.
So like not only was I like doing sketches and improv, then like I was like reading books about like the history of comedy, about like comedy theory, I guess like you could call it. And then I kind of like got into stand up from that, and then I basically realized exactly what you just said. I was like, wait, I'm like from New York, like I could just do this shit. And I was like writing stuff at the club, but then I was like coming to the city to just like do open mics.
When was the first open mic that you did? That
must have been.
So the first time you were on stage, I'm assuming it's through improv.
Yeah, yeah, through improv. And I had done like school plays and stuff like in high school and all that stuff, but the real time like doing like actual comedy that I wrote was like improv or sketch. And that was in college, and that was just in front of like my classmates. Like, everybody's drinking, like underage drinking. We order pizza to like a classroom and like do shit. And then like stand up was the same thing, like in like one of the college classrooms. But then like my first like actual open mic in a city was Caravan of Dreams.
Okay, I've heard of this.
I don't even know if they still do.
I don't think it still exists, but I've heard of this.
That's like 2000. It was like 2016, right before Trump got elected. Actually,
okay.
Because that.
Listen here, David. Thank you to your father for.
Sorry, let me just rephrase. This is before the bright times of Trump's
okay,
because I am Cuban.
This is before we were making it great. People get I'm so good at the impression, but I
love it.
I hate doing it. I do it all the time at work because we have so many finance people that come in that love Trump.
Yeah.
And just for the audience, the people who come in and who hate Trump, who are like super bleeding heart liberals, tip like 5 to 10%.
Yeah.
And the people who come in who love Trump tip like 30 to 40%. So it's very difficult to be like, I understand why you view it this way. Like, I get it. As someone who studied political science, I'm like, I get it.
Yeah.
But also, you're making it really hard for me to like want to help you out.
Exactly.
When the other guy's just paying for my electric bill for the month.
It's not black and white sometimes. Sometimes it's green.
Yeah. So you go to this college, you get on stage for the first time, 2016, Trump's about to be elected, make America great, and then boom, you go to Caravan of Dreams and you're like, let's do it.
Yeah, literally doing it, and I think most of my jokes were about like Trump running. For
It
president.
has to be, yeah.
Like,
well, that's why I was setting it up that way. I'm, not sitting here being like, we're both pro Trump. Like, we're not. This isn't that podcast.
Yeah.
We're not those guys.
Full disclaimer: I'm like actually probably like the furthest radical left person.
Yeah, like you do environmental science. Like this isn't that podcast.
Yeah, I
But
like
just to set the scene. Like it was so easy, especially in 2016, before we knew a lot about the situation. It was so easy just to make jokes.
Oh yeah, all the time. And I remember like I think my first joke on stage was like, oh, Trump's running for president, and in theory I should love this guy because one. We have a lot of. I was like, we have a lot of common. One, we're both from New York. Two, neither of us belong to the Oval Office. And three, we both want to bang his daughter.
Yeah, I forgot about that. When he was like, my daughter is so hot, smoking hot. And we're all like, what the fuck is this guy talking
Yeah,
about?
she is, but you shouldn't be the one saying
you're not
that.
the one. You've been watching too many sites, my guy. So then how does it go your very first time doing comedy in front of a foreign crowd, like a crowd that you're not used to?
Yeah, it kind of it didn't really stink as much as I thought, because everybody always talks about like, oh, the first time you do your first open mic is always gonna like be shitty, and like yeah, it kind of was, because not a single person really laughed. I think.
Oh, you didn't get any laughs?
I got like a couple chuckles at like that first bit,
Yeah.
and then the bunch of the rest of the shit I couldn't even tell you what it was, because I think it was just like a lot of it was just like drivel. Honestly, I did not know what I was doing. But I still, some of the people who I met that night, like I still talk to, and like it's just a completely different world. Like it kind of just like snowballed from there, because from there people just tell you other mics to hit.
Yeah. And
then once you do that, then like
when you got off stage, were you like, oh, this is something I want to do? Like keep doing?
Yeah.
Okay.
I like looking back, like no one. Like, I didn't really get that many laughs, but, like, that one chuckle from, like, that first joke, I was like, that's enough, baby.
Yeah.
That's...
Well, it's interesting because I've been doing this show a little over 4 years now, and I've heard all sorts of origin stories in comedy from, like, yeah, I did, like, a talent show at my college, and I crushed.
Yeah.
To, like, no, I bombed, but I was like, oh, this is so cool to be on stage and everyone's listening to me. I've even had people on this show where they're like, yeah, I did really well at my first time on stage.
Yeah.
And I don't really like comedy, but I'm pretty good at it, so I just keep doing it. And those are the people where I'm like, I probably shouldn't have asked you to come on the show because I'm obsessed with, like, I love stand-up.
Yeah.
So for you, you get those couple of chuckles, and then you just, we're right then and there, off to the races.
Yeah.
You already lived here. You were already doing it.
Exactly. Like, just having people, like, having at least one person kind of... Because that's also my thing, too, with comedy, is I feel like I have, like, a weirder bar. I don't know if it's lower or higher than, like, most people, but, like, I don't consider a bomb
Yeah.
unless like you legitimately got zero laughs, nobody's on your side. Like,
okay, yeah,
that
makes. I mean, yeah, I see what you're saying.
If you like,
I'm the exact opposite.
Yeah, like
I could do really well, and I'll be like, man, I fucking bombed. And people are like, well, it wasn't a crush, but you did good. And I go, if it's not crushing, then it's not.
I get that too. Like, I have different scales. Like, I'll tell people, I'm like, that was not like because I've also had people be like, oh man, I crushed. It's like, dude,
I know you did not.
You did not. I'm sorry, because I've done the whole spectrum at this point. Like, I have had zero laughs completely, like literally to the point where like I get off stage and like I hate when people do this. I go, hey man, you did your thing.
Yeah, it's like
I'll kill myself if
I had someone, Vanessa Jackson, who wrote for SNL and Colbert and stuff when she was on the podcast. She said one time she came off stage and someone was like, well, we asked you to tell jokes and that's what you did. You told jokes. And she was like, yeah, I mean, structurally, yes.
Yeah, there was a setup and a punchline, man. Like,
I was like, that's the worst.
Like, when people know what they're talking about and they're like, oh, I don't know what it is. Like,
it's rough, too, because, and I think people... I mean, I can't speak for them, but I think people who are always like, yeah, I did so good, even when they don't, have never, like, crushed a show.
Yeah, that's also true. Like,
because I've had, not a ton, but I've had a few shows I can count on two hands where, like, one show I did on my going away show in Jacksonville, the stage was shaking because everyone was, like, cheering.
Yeah.
And then I had another show here where the producer of the show, who I know very well, Drew Tessier, friend of this program, produces a bunch of shows in the city. He literally texted his boyfriend while I was on stage, Brendan is crushing right now.
Love
like,
that. Yeah.
And so, like, it was one of those things where it's like, I've done it before. So even if I get a bunch of laughs, I'll come off stage and be like, I've been there, and that wasn't it.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing where I'm at, too. It's, like, hard to kind of, like, reach that height again once you've had it. But, I mean, it's just, like, part of the ride. And, like, I think now that I've, like, seen, like, everything that it can offer, I don't know. It's, like,
and there's sometimes, too, where you'll have, like, 8-minute set, you'll have like 7 minutes where you're like, yeah, we were connecting. It was really good. There's probably like a 30-second pocket here where no one was like registering, or a 10-second pocket here where no one was getting it. But like for like 6.5, 7 minutes, it was fun.
Yeah, it's so easy to recover too. Like once you've like kind of like, because it's like when you're like, all right, I can tell that this audience is not their vibe. Like, completely change it up. Like,
I have that a lot because I talk about a lot of darker stuff on stage, like my alcoholism and like rehab and jail and stuff like that. And normally that's the stuff that kind of pulls people down. And so then I'll pivot into like gym stuff, or I like I said, I watch a lot of movies. Sometimes I have a whole bit about I love shitty movies because I can steal the intellectual property and pass it off as my own.
There you go.
But because people haven't seen these movies, they think I'm a genius.
Yeah.
So I've got like 5 examples of that, like from Starship Troopers and from A Knight's Tale and from all these different movies. And normally people love that because it's silly. Like my big one is Mighty Ducks 3. And I've done shows before where I've opened with the silly stuff because you read the room and I go, my dark stuff's not going to work in this room. I'll open with silly. And the silly stuff flops. But to your point, I've been doing it long enough to where I'm like, okay, I can pivot out of this. I know where to go. Whereas I'm sure you were the same way. When you first started, if a joke bombed, you were like, oh God, oh God, oh God, oh God.
Dude, the amount of times where like I'd have like be like, all right, I'm gonna open with this joke. It's gonna crush. It's gonna get everybody like nice. It's gonna get everybody nice and ready to laugh, and then does not crush, and you're like, "Fuck, that was my best joke."
That was my best joke. I have done it before, and I still to this day, because I've gotten pretty good. Like I've got like a tight 5 and a tight, like we all do. Like you have your set. So like if someone like if Esty walked up to you at the cellar and was like, "Hey, you got to run down and do 10," like you've already got it loaded.
Yeah.
And I have been at shows where the first one doesn't land. Then the second one doesn't land. And I've been doing this a long time, like on and off since 2009, but I've been back in it since 2018, like full bore.
Yeah.
And I still will like panic. Like 36 years old, on stage, feel so comfortable on stage.
Yeah.
And if the second one doesn't land, because if the first one doesn't land, I will completely pivot from the line of topics.
Yeah.
And I'll do something completely different. And then if that doesn't land, I go, oh, they just don't like me.
Yeah.
And then I get in my head, and then the whole set can fall apart.
Yeah.
I've still had horrific bombs. Which you think?
Yeah.
I mean, you've been doing comedy for a while. Like, does this happen to you where, like, you'll get on stage and you'll have, like, a few good sets and you're like, yeah, I've been doing this long enough. Like, I know how to not bomb. Like, I'm going to have a great set, but I know how to not bomb. And then you bomb and you're like, oh, boy.
Yeah. I think you invite it when you say, like, oh, I know how to not bomb. Because every time I have that thought, like I always eat shit immediately.
Yeah,
like,
almost like the next day.
Yeah, comedy like humbles you purposely.
Yeah.
Like I don't know what it is. It's like, oh yeah, you think you can't bomb? Like you will. Like
I mean, I put together a show here in Astoria, and I made the joke like it was Brennan and the Broken Toys sponsored by the Kaplan family because my girlfriend's last name is Kaplan, and her brother brought like the whole audience.
Right.
And I was like, oh, this is a safe space. These are. But then the more I thought about it, I was like, oh, a lot of these people, because my girlfriend's very supportive, I was like, she's brought in a lot of these people to shows before. So I was like, I have to do like newer stuff that they haven't heard before. Yep. But then it's also like an audience where they're not like laugh out loud people. They're kind of like, ha, yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
And you're like, so I'm listening to the video back and I go, cool. It sounds like I fucking bombed.
Yeah. Dude, I also
in a safe space full of people I know.
I love that too because I've also had like regular crowds like that where it's like I'm in a club and like in the moment I thought everybody's having a good time because like I see smiles.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
But there's just for some reason you go back to the tape and it's like, dude, crickets. What the hell is this?
And I literally and I love it because like I love a lot of like her friends that come. Like I'm trying because she listens to every episode. I'm not trying to disparage the fact that they brought all these people. But what I am saying is like, I'm on stage and I think I'm doing so well because I see these big smiles and I hear these pockets of laughter, but then the audience isn't mic'd up. So then you go back and listen to your camera that was in the back of the room and it's like, oh, you can't hear anything. Yeah. Except me. It looks like I'm doing a TED Talk.
And then you're like, I don't want to be one of those guys who just post something on like Instagram. Yeah. And then, like you can tell it's like.
I had a comment years ago and I brought it up on the show so many times, but the guy wrote the comment and the crowd goes mild. And this was like 2 years ago. And that has been in my head to now when I watch clips, I go, if it's not like raucous, like, I won't post it, which I've tried to get out of because people are like, it doesn't matter. Like, it's just the content. Just post the content.
That's also true.
But I'm like, yeah, but it opens me up for so many mean comments.
If it's not my best, why do I want to put it out there? Which is kind of like a self-defeating, I've come to like realize because like there's so much stuff I could put out there. I have it just because I've
Yeah.
always been like, nope, it's got to be perfect.
Well, that's the other thing too is in comedy, it's never going to be the best it could be. There are so many shows
Exactly.
where even my one-man show, I worked on it for 18 months, just my one-man show, which it wasn't a comedy. It was a drama. It was about me getting sober.
Yeah.
I cry in it like 3 times. It's sad. But I worked on that for 18 months, and it was all stories that some of them there are pockets of funny, of like bits I would tell on stage because I'm a storyteller on stage. So I put those stories, because they're true, into the one-man show. And dude, I went back, this was in January 30th, 2023 is when I performed it. And I went back and just rewatched it like a few nights ago. And when they came out, I was like, no, we're putting it up on YouTube. Like, this is the show. Yeah. I just went back and rewatched it like a few weeks ago, and I was like, this is fucking terrible.
Yeah, that's always my biggest fear. Because
like, I'm so much better than this in just a year.
Yeah. And like even sometimes like the same jokes, because I have like certain jokes that like I wrote like my first year of like stand up, but it's like not the same joke at all.
Yeah.
Like it is.
The premise is the same, but the joke is completely different.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And like I always think about like, what if I post this joke and like completely change it in like a few months? Like then like what? I can't post it again?
Well, no. So that's the thing is I have a lot of comic friends who are like big on social media.
Yeah.
Like, hundreds of thousands. Some of them are in the millions. And they go, it doesn't fucking matter. They're like, the attention spans are so small. Nobody remembers that it's the same joke.
That's true, yeah.
So if it's the same joke from a different set, who cares? Like, just post it. No one's going to be, and only a Sith deals in absolutes, but no one's going to be in the comments like, you posted this 6 months ago.
Yeah,
Like, after a
that's true.
month, nobody remembers.
Yeah.
But you have to change it in, like, when you're editing it. Because this is what I have learned, is that the algorithm knows if it's just the same video. The algorithm knows that, so it won't push the video.
Yeah.
So you have to
That's
go
fair.
in and like re-edit it.
I see.
Because if it's like the time markers and everything match up exactly, the AI will figure out you're just reposting the same video,
Yeah.
and then they'll just bury it.
I gotta learn this stuff because otherwise I'm gonna end up like Michael Jackson, just like ODing one day, and then they're like, "Wait, we keep finding more and more hits."
What's with all the like a Tupac situation where he's releasing albums like 10 years after he got killed?
Yeah, exactly.
And people are like, we've never heard any of this before.
It's like, yeah, this is just locked up in his attic because
He's just doing it.
he just hated it for whatever reason. Never released it.
So let's get into it. So then you start doing stand up 2016, you get the bug, and then what happens where you like pivot into this is what I'm doing now?
Yeah, I just started doing it every day. I got my first show.
So after that first mic, you started doing it every day.
Not mics every day, but I was like doing every other day. Then I did my first show at Broadway Comedy Club like around February 2017 or something.
Okay,
like
so
that.
like 6 months in?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And that show is actually awesome. Like,
Which show is it?
that was
Is it their new, what is it called? Is it the Industry Room show?
no, it wasn't even
Okay.
Industry Room. It was John Butera, who's a cool guy.
Love John B.
Yeah,
Dude, are you kidding me?
yeah. His show. He just, I think randomly like back then on Facebook, he was just like, hey, looking for comics like to be on a show. And
you crushed.
like, yeah, I crushed immediately. Like my fan was there. Like they had a good time. I had that point like been like doing like 6 months of like just like editing and like
Yeah, well, and if
actually-
you're going to mics every other day, you're probably writing a ton.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, that's. I remember when I did the Industry Room when I first moved here.
yeah.
Because my thought was like, oh, I've been doing. I was telling people at the time I've been doing comedy since I started in 2009,
Right.
which is true. But also, I was doing like a mic every 3 months, and then when my alcoholism would get really bad, I would take like a year off. So it's not true.
Yeah.
And it finally got to a point where my girlfriend Tracy, she goes, "Hey, maybe you should start." I think it was her. She goes, "Maybe you should start telling people you started in 2018 because that's when you got sober. That's when you really dove back into
Right.
comedy." She goes, "Because 2009 sounds like you've been doing comedy for almost 20 years, and you're still going to mics with people.
Right.
So maybe don't do that."
Yeah, it kind of makes sense too, though, because like I was gonna say as well, like when I first started, like I was 20, turning 21, so it also was just like a really good excuse to just like go places and like be
Yeah.
drinking, and it'd be like, oh, I'm gonna go to a mic, like I'm gonna have to drink,
Yeah,
so, like I'm
you're
just
gonna
I
have to, yeah.
like may as well get like fucking twisted every night then. So it's like I feel like that was like the real motivator, honestly. Like you're
Yeah.
like, oh, I'm like getting drunk, and then like I'm having a good time telling jokes. Every other night, like you'd also like meet like a girl or something too, who
Yeah.
like used to be like, "Oh my god, you're hilarious."
Yeah.
And like at the time, I was like,
If you
still,
can make them laugh, you can make them breakfast.
exactly. And I was like still living at home, so I was like, I don't want to like be like home with
Home,
my parents.
yeah.
Like screw that.
And
So-
are you 2016? Are you still in college at the time?
Yeah. So
Okay.
I'm like think that was my junior year.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, because you're 21, so you're still in college, but you're living at home. But it's kind of like you said, like if you don't have classes and stuff the next day, you're like, let's let it rip, let's go.
Literally, yeah. And like I was only in Hoboken, so like going in and out of the city was like nothing. Like you just take the PATH train. It was like awesome. Like it was like
well, and I've heard of this. So like I don't know if you know Michael Rowland, very funny comic.
Yeah,
he's on that show Animal Control on Fox with Joel McHale. But he's a good buddy of mine, and I bring this up because I ran into him last night at the Cellar and we were talking. And I remember he told me when he first because he came here from Atlanta and he was already established in Atlanta when he moved to New York. Like, you know, a lot of us, we're really good or pretty good where we're at. That's why we moved to New York. Obviously, when you're from New York, it's different.
Yeah.
But like, so when he was like, yeah, dude, when we got to New York, he goes, we were just like running around with those airplane minis in our backpack, like just going to Mike's getting sloshed. Like it was an event.
Yeah. And even before COVID too, like I feel like it was even more of a thing. Like now I feel like it's more, you have a lot more sober mics and you have like people that are more like conscious.
Quitters.
Ugh, yuck.
Gross.
But like back then it was like literally just like, okay, we're all just gonna party, tell jokes, and like Creek in the Cave back then too.
I know, I've heard stories. I
was like afraid of Creek in the Cave when I first started.
Really?
Yeah, like fully. Like I remember like part of like why I even started, I was like, I need to start like hitting mics regularly so I can work up the courage to go to Creek in the Cave.
Really?
Yeah.
It was crazy. I have a buddy of mine who has nothing to do with comedy. I met him working in restaurants in Florida, but every summer he would come up and him and like 5 of his buddies, they would get a place in New Jersey because they would work. He was really into golf. So he would work at restaurants at night and then golf all day. And then in the summer, he would take the whole summer off, come up to Jersey, and then they would work as caddies for like the nice golf courses in Jersey. So they'd make money hand over fist and they'd just be around golf all day. But the reason I bring it up is he like was dating one of the women who was a manager at the Creek in the Cave. Nice. And this is like 2019. Like I'm talking about getting back into stand-up. I got back into stand-up in 18. So I'm talking about moving to New York for stand-up at this point.
Right.
And he goes, oh, like one of the girls, she's like a friend of mine. We used to hook up. She manages the Creek in the Cave. I sent her one of your shorts. She likes you. So when you get to New York, let her know and she'll put you up at the Creek. And dude, I was so excited. Yeah. COVID happens. They moved to Austin. Dude, I was like, motherfucker.
That changed everything about this city. I swear to God, honestly.
So you were here in it.
Yeah.
You were here during it. So what because so many comics left, so many people like quit comedy. What did you see being here?
Oh my God. It was like it was just such a weird time. Cause like, it's funny because I also only really made it out there a couple times before it closed because I was like deathly afraid of it. Yeah. And then I went like maybe like 3 or 4 times, and then I was like, okay, I can like get used to this place. I also like barely remember the times I was there because I was just like fucking getting wasted.
So drunk.
But I just remember having a good time, and I was like, okay, 2020, I'm really hitting the because I had like just graduated. Like I was like, I'm free, like I'm done, like I had a job lined up. Like I was like
a day job. So you're like all night comedy,
like 9 to 5 working, making money, comedy at night. It's gonna be fucking perfect.
As long as I'm home by midnight, baby, exactly. I can get 8 hours of sleep still.
Exactly. And then fucking COVID hit, and I was like, oh shit, I have no idea what the fuck to do with my life.
So what happened? Did you keep doing comedy? What happened?
Yeah. So it was so weird for like a while. Nobody knew what the fuck to do. So
because you guys were closed for a while. Like I went back to work 3 months into COVID.
And everything was closed. So like first,
in Florida they were like, load it up, rack it up. We're going again.
I remember like the first thing that started happening is people started doing like Zoom shows.
Yeah.
And like
we had those. Yeah.
Those were rough because it would be like,
hell no,
dude. I hated those because then I'd be there and and especially like when I was like first starting out and like I said, like I was like a lot of my kind of comedy was just like getting plastered and like just like vibing with the crowd kind of, which is like terrible comedy, honestly, looking back.
God, if you went back and watched those tapes, you'd be like, this is horrific.
Yeah. Like not a single joke.
It's so funny how when we're new into comedy, we think, because I was the same way when I first started in 2009, my first like 12 mics, I was annihilated.
Yeah, you're like the second coming of fucking George Carlin himself.
Yeah, and you think you're having a good time.
Yeah, and like you're not only funny, you're like insightful. I'm like, no, you're not.
No, you're not. Listen, no, you're not.
You're not at all. Anytime. Oh my God, I remember I got humbled because I sat down on the stool once. And I got off, and
who the fuck do you think you are?
Who the fuck? They're like, you're up there for 5 minutes. You're sitting for you went to sit on the stool for 5 minutes. I was like,
I have.
Yeah.
One of my very best friends, Matt Fulstron, tells me this story, and I love it. but they were at a show. I think like it was at the Improv, and if I'm not mistaken, they were doing like an open mic before the show.
Right.
And Norm Macdonald was there, and a guy went on stage. He was only doing 5 minutes, and the guy went on stage with like a beer.
Ugh.
And Norm was like, "Hey, a beer? He's doing 5 minutes. Is he gonna drink the beer for 5 minutes? When I go up, I'm gonna bring a lobster dinner, with a bib and everything, 5 minutes, I could eat one lobster." And I was just now. Anytime I see a comic take a drink or something up for a 5 minute set, I'm like, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, what? We don't need to know you're cool.
Or like they're setting up, like they'll pull the stool so they can sit down. They'll take off their jacket. They'll move the mic stand. They'll tell 2 jokes, and they're like, "Oh, I got the light. I'll see you guys later."
Yeah,
it's
what
like,
are you getting comfortable for?
Yeah, you spent a minute 30 getting comfortable.
I hate that so much. I didn't get it back then, but I'm like, oh yeah, that's so fucking
There's
annoying.
so much stuff we didn't get.
Oh yeah, not at all.
Where we're like, why are they hating on me?
Yeah,
and then looking
exactly.
back, you're like, I would kill myself.
Yeah, I like shoot myself in the back of the head.
Yeah, I would. If I showed up, I'd just walk in and walk out.
That's it, Luigi Mangione style.
Yeah, hell yeah, man. So during the pandemic, you said, did you do the Zoom shows?
So we did the Zoom shows. I hated that shit because you're not hearing any laughs because everybody's muted, so that you don't hear everybody going on in the background. You only see smiles, so it's like maybe you like it, maybe you don't, and then like everybody else has their camera off. I really started kind of like writing again when Nick Crespo, I don't know if you ever met him or heard of him.
No.
He's also someone who I met that first mic I did at Caravan
That threw
of
me off
Dreams.
because one of my best friends in Florida's name is Marcus Crespo. So when you
Really?
said Crespo, I was like, wait, what?
Yeah, he lives here now. No, but
He
Nick,
moved and didn't tell you.
he started doing this thing called Couches Comedy Club on Instagram.
Okay.
And like
I have heard of this. I
Yeah,
have heard
that
of this,
blew
yeah.
up. That like went huge.
Yeah.
Like Stormy Daniels was on it one night, and literally all it was every night at it was like midnight or something. He would like just go on Instagram Live, and then like he'd just like bring comics on to live with him. Basically, if you're like,
Okay.
all right, this is like Couches. I'm bringing up your like this comic.
Oh,
is
so
about
he was
joint-
like a host, and he would bring comics on
Yeah.
to live to like tell bits.
Exactly. So then he'd like be like on the top screen, you'd be on the bottom screen, like you'd be doing your bits, and then you could also like kind of like do like really cool stuff. Like you could kind of like try to like loop him into the bit. Also,
Yeah.
like try to like get like real meta with it too. So like that like kind of like got me like really experimenting with like the like medium.
So you were doing that.
Yeah, I did that for like a while. That was like all I was doing.
Did you do the outdoor shows when they came back?
And then when like spring summer
I jumped
hit,
it. I'm sorry.
yeah, no, it's okay. When spring summer came, and then I started doing all the outdoor shows, but those were always weird because it always felt like you were just kind of like imposing a stand-up show on
Yeah.
a picnic.
Yeah, ambush comedy.
Yeah,
That's what we call it
exactly.
in Florida, ambush comedy.
Yeah,
Well, because I
exactly.
saw Sam's documentary / special that he did on that.
Yeah.
So, because I was still living in Florida, we were supposed to move in April of 2020.
Yeah.
And what month comes before April? March. And so COVID happens. Our whole move gets the kibosh put on it.
Yeah.
So then I'm like, like I said, in Florida, like by July, work was calling us and they're like, hey, you ready to come back? Like we were fully reopened.
Yeah.
Like it was like 50% for like a week and then 75% for another week. And then we were back full bore.
Yeah.
But I had friends obviously doing comedy in New York and LA, and they were like, we're still shut down. Like it was insane.
It was shut down until basically the vaccine came out. And
Yeah.
then the vaccine came out, and then there would be like, okay, 50% capacity, and you have to check people's like vaccine
ID,
card
yeah, because
and
so
ID.
me and my ex moved here finally July 16th is when I came up here, but we officially like moved in July 23rd of 2021.
Yeah.
And I remember I was like the first place I'm going. Like I came up here with an air mattress and a couple of like miscellaneous things, and I drove my
Nice.
Toyota Camry up here.
It's more than most.
Well, because my ex, she was like, oh, I still have work for like the next week. I'm going to stay in Florida.
Right.
I was like, well, I'm going to go up to the new apartment since we're paying for it, one. And two, I just kind of want to like see what it looks like, get the feel for it.
Yep.
And I remember my first night here sleeping on an air mattress. I was like, I'm going to the cellar. And it was a huge deal,
Yeah.
like vaccine cards, all this kind of stuff. And I was like, this is a far cry. I'm not in Florida anymore, man.
Yeah.
Where if you walked in with a mask, people are like, pussy.
Literally, yeah. I remember going down to Florida for like a week with like my brother and dad, like,
Yeah.
and it was like, oh, a different world. Like, so
Your dad's
free.
like, we're back, man. We're doing it, man. Here we go.
We're selling coke.
So let's talk about some of the stories because
yeah.
you sent me quite a list.
Oh yeah.
So when did you first start drinking?
Oh my god. like actually drinking, I guess maybe like senior year, like the end of senior year of high school, like
Okay.
I started like experiments. But I mean, before that, like my brother's 6 years older than me, and I'm pretty
Hey, mine
close.
too. That's weird.
That's pretty. We're the same, you and I.
Yeah.
But I used to hang out with like all his
Ties
groups of
in
friends.
Florida. Brothers are 6 years older. Look at us.
Come on, man. I might become sober one of these days.
One of these days. You let me know.
But yeah, I was like cool with like I always had like older friends, so I kind of
Oh, see, that's where we differ.
yeah.
My brother was like, "Get the fuck out of my room, out of my life."
I was a pretty cool younger brother, actually. Like
okay,
I don't
was
know.
not.
Yeah.
I was like, "Let me play with you guys." Banging on the door.
My like the first time I think his like first ever like birthday party that I like actually had consciousness, like I was like 3. His like friend tried to like pull that on me, but like you can't hang out with us, you're the little brother, and I like literally punched him in the balls.
Oh, really?
And from that day, it was like, yeah,
They're
you
like,
can-
nah, he's cool.
yeah.
No, David's cool, man. Let him in.
Literally, they're like, he can hang with us. But so because of that, I basically started drinking like around 16, 15 almost, but
Okay.
like only like controlled settings, like
Yeah.
almost like a European. Like it'd be like, oh, like my brother, like my family's around, I'll have some like some beer or wine, and like,
Yeah.
that's it.
Well, that makes sense to me because it's a cultural thing too. In certain cultures, like drinking is introduced at a younger age, but it's controlled.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, we don't care if you have a beer with dinner, like you're not
Yeah.
getting hammered. Whereas, and I've talked to some people who are from Europe about this, who have been on the show, and they're like, yeah, in Europe, because it's introduced and it's not taboo, people don't like turn 16 and go, oh, I have to get blackout drunk.
Yeah.
Because they've been having a glass of wine with dinner for like 2 years. So they don't care.
Yeah.
Whereas in like the Americanized culture version is like, no, let's fucking party.
Yeah, exactly. It's very weird actually, because I feel like I went through that a little bit when I turned 21. Because it was like, it's still when you turn 21, like it's still its own thing. 'Cause it's like
Yeah, and you grew up in the state. It's
Yeah.
not, yeah.
Cause it's like, yeah, like it's not like other places. It's like you're somewhere else and stuff. Like when you're 21, at least like no one can tell you anything anymore.
Yeah.
Like you're just like you're free to like go places. Cause I hated being like with people and then like be like, okay, I'm just going, literally just coming in for food. Like I was not even planning to drink, and they'd be like,
Yeah.
no, you can't come in just because you're not 21. And I, like,
Oh yeah,
like
the
those
different
always that
bars
thing.
and stuff
yeah,
like
exactly.
that. Yeah.
So
Because
it's-
well, that's a lot of late night spots too. Once it hits like midnight, they're like 21 and only.
yeah, exactly.
21 and up. I mean,
And like around 20 and stuff was when I was like starting comedy, so it was like so like frustrating. So like when I like hit 21, it was like, okay, I can actually really start staying out late for
Yeah.
comedy and stuff. So it was like awesome.
yeah, for comedy.
for comedy. But yeah, I mean, like it was just great to like be outside and like
So you started late in high school, and then when you got to college, because you went to a trade like a tech school.
yeah. The thing is, when I got to college, it was like then I really did go crazy. 'Cause,
Okay, yeah, take us through this because you said it's kind of a nerdy place. So.
yeah, it was a nerdy place, but it's also the #2 party school in New Jersey, right under Rutgers.
Really?
Yeah, and like, dude, like it is. Like I look back at some of the shit like we used to do back then. I'm like, yeah, we really were just like crazy because I think also like a bunch of kids were like trying to get out of their nerdiness.
Yeah,
and, like
that makes sense. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. There's like no
Well, and if you go to a nerdy school, everyone's a nerd.
Exactly.
So you're not ostracized.
exactly. So like you'd like get drunk, but then like you'd also like be like connecting with people about like Star Wars,
Yeah,
like Pokemon,
yeah.
like shit like that. And then like you do like
Dude, the amount of times I've gotten blackout drunk and had arguments about Anakin versus Obi-Wan with people.
yeah, like that was my
Like as
college.
a grown up, like in my late 20s.
That was all of my college experience. And
That
like
sounds awesome, actually.
we'd have like LAN parties. Like I don't even know if they do LAN parties anymore, but like you know what you have like.
Oh, I am very aware of a local area network.
There you go. See, I knew you would know, but
Yeah.
dude, like
For those of you listening, a LAN party is back in the day before online gaming really
Yeah.
took hold because the internet, the bandwidth just wasn't strong enough
Yeah.
to like keep it in real time. Everyone would bring their Xbox over and a TV over. You'd get extension cords and you could plug in the Xboxes to each other. And then basically everyone would be playing like you could have 36 people going
Yeah.
at Halo on like 6 different TVs.
exactly, and then we'd be doing like Smash Bros tournaments.
Yeah.
But then we'd be getting hammered like the entire time. And,
LAN parties, baby. Let's
dude,
go.
it was insane.
Let's go.
Like, and then the biggest thing, I don't even realize. The thing is, like, I never really spent much time at other colleges that didn't have frats, but mine had a pretty big frat life.
Yeah.
And like,
Were you in a fraternity?
no, I was like one of those guys who was
The
like,
hanger on.
yeah, exactly. And then like my grades were always just at that like level where it's like, you can be in a frat. No, you shouldn't be in a frat. Yeah, you can be in a frat.
Oh,
You shouldn't be in
really?
a frat.
So it was
yeah.
like monitored.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, so it's like eligibility for sports.
Yeah, exactly. So I was just like, you know what? Like, I'm just gonna cover at that point where
that opens up. So I never knew that. My ex-fiance was in a sorority for like her whole college career, and that never clicked for me.
yeah, I mean, like
That's like they always make fun of athletes for taking like communications degrees, and it's like, yeah, because if I don't make A's and B's, I cannot play.
yeah, exactly.
It's the same thing for no wonder everyone majors in business management. It's
yeah,
if you don't,
it's the easiest shit. Like you don't have to. All you have to do is party and drink. Like
Yeah.
I hated when I like.
oh my god, that makes so much sense.
Yeah, exactly. And like certain places enforce it or don't enforce it, so it's kind of different.
Yeah, I guess it just depends on the school.
But like, yeah, that's entirely why like everybody's just
You
like,
could be in a frat. No, you can't be in a frat. You can be in a frat. No, you can't be in a
yeah,
frat.
literally. And like, I started doing doing computer science. I hated that shit because that's the reason I couldn't be in a frat. No, I just like sucked at it. I wasn't good at math.
Like, forget this. Environmental science. Let's go.
Yeah, exactly. Honestly, and I was better at that. I cared about it more.
So take us through it when you get to college, because you said a lot of people are opening up, like a lot of people are partying
Yeah.
and stuff. When you get there, are you, because we didn't really talk about high school, when you're in high school, are you getting good grades? Are you like, I want to be because you're a
Oh, yeah.
scientist. Are you like, I want to be a scientist?
I was getting really fucking good grades in
Okay.
high school, and I was doing great. But then I feel like
Public school?
No, private school. I was
Okay.
like yeah.
Listen, man, I almost did Trump, but I got to do Scarface.
Hey, it's all the same.
Oh, we do. God damn it. Now my impressions are all like melding
Dude,
together.
if we could make like a
Listen here, man. We can do private schools around here, man.
if there was a Cuban Trump, I promise you he could take over the world.
Listen here, man.
He would. First of all, you wouldn't need to crowdfund. He'd just be
Yeah,
selling.
take over the world, man.
Yeah,
Just
selling-
selling cocaine.
First, you get the money, then you get the power.
And then you get the women.
Exactly. But yeah, I mean, I was like a really good student, and I mean, I guess I am pretty academic because I still like work in education. But I don't know, like for me, like once I got to college, I was like, this is the goal to like just kind of like be here, like away
Yeah.
from home. I'm free. I didn't really like give that much of a shit once I actually got there.
When you went, because you said you started in computer science.
Yeah.
When you went, because there's two types of people who go to college. The people who go to college and they know what they want to do and they've had a passion for it for a long time, and that's what they go to study. Then there's 99% of people, which is like they kind of wander around for a couple years till they figure it out.
I was the latter.
Okay,
for sure.
yeah,
I was
got
just
it.
wandering around. I literally only picked computer science because people were like, "Oh yeah, that."
I like computers. I like science.
Literally, yeah. And everybody's like, "Oh, that makes a lot of money." I was like, "I need money because
Yeah.
I did not grow up with it." So,
So we're doing it.
Like, come on.
Yeah, it is interesting. I went because my uncle who helped me get into college, he was not like help me like when I was a senior, because my parents had 4 kids. So by the time I was a senior in high school, they're like, fucking figure it out,
Yeah.
dude. Like, we're so tired of this. So like I applied to a bunch of schools, but my uncle was the one who was like, all right, well, if you want to play college football, this is what we have to do. Like he
Yeah.
helped me get recruited, not my high school coach. Is when my uncle helped me
Mm-hmm.
get recruited. But I remember when I was going to college, he was like, now you're going to do business administration or business management. Like you want to do something with business.
Yeah.
Because you can always use that degree. And it was a very intelligent way of looking at the landscape.
Yeah,
Like if you have a
100%.
business administration degree, you could get a job in any office.
100%.
I got there and I took 1 political science class as like an elective my freshman year. And as a child of divorce, and you're always playing politics and stuff in my family because it could get real volatile.
Yeah.
I took 1 poli sci class and I was like, they were talking about alliances and stuff, and I was like, oh, I want to do this.
That's awesome.
And so I immediately switched majors, and everyone was my uncle was like, the fuck are you doing?
That's not
There's
the plan
no money in political science.
at all. Negative money.
Yeah, and so I ended up just switching because I was like, oh, I'll go to law school. So I ended up majoring in political science and American history. But to your point, it was like I got there and I was like, oh, this is what I'll do because this is what everyone tells me is
Yeah.
the smart play. And
Yeah.
then within like a semester, I was like, fuck that.
Yeah, I was like, I hate this shit. Like, dude, literally, there was like a class. It's like differentials in theory, and literally like the first class, I walk in and like the professor was like, "You all know that 1 + 1 = 2. This class is about why."
Why 1
I was
+
like,
1.
I literally got up. I was like, I'm done.
I'm out. You're good.
You got
bro.
me. Like,
Well,
I'm
and the
done.
fun thing about political science is there's the only math is statistical, like
Yeah.
statistics, because it's like, polling and stuff like that, which to me made sense because it was logical.
Yeah.
In the sense of like, well, if I pull 100 people and 90 people say this, that's 90%.
Exactly.
Whereas like some of the like games in theory, you're like, the fuck are we talking about?
Yeah.
There's F's and X's and COS and cosines and I'm like,
I
I'm
could
not
not
doing
do it.
this, dude.
I was like, dude, that is not a math problem. That is a full sentence. Like,
It's a full-on sentence,
like,
dude.
Come on.
I'm out. You got a subject and a predicate. I'm out of here,
Yeah,
bro.
and that's not a word problem. It's not about Stacey having 5 apples.
Yeah,
Fuck that.
I'm
I'm
out.
out. Yeah.
So you end up switching. And now at the time, when you first get there, Are you like going, because you said you got good grades in high school,
Yeah.
so, and you said you didn't start really partying until late in your senior year. So when
Yeah.
you get to college, you're free. When you tell us about like when you first get there, are you like, I'm going fucking crazy?
Yeah, when I first
Like
got
first
there,
day?
Yeah, when I first got there, I'm like, dude, I'm fucking making all the friends. I'm doing everything.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just like being free. I was still dating my like high school girlfriend at the time, which was stupid. So like, there was part of me that was like still kind of hanging out.
We believe in love on this podcast. So
Hey man, you do you.
so dumb.
Idiotic. But we broke up like by
A week.
yeah, like pretty early on, and then that's when I really was like,
That's
oh
the thing
yeah,
that bothers me though, is you spend the whole. This is bothers me with movies when it's
Yeah.
like a love story and then they come out with a sequel and the love story's not. The Entourage did this and it pissed me
Yeah.
off. Season 7 was all about Vinny Chase finding love, and then the movie comes out and they're like, "Thank God you ended up getting a divorce from so and so," and you're like, I just watched 7 seasons about
Yeah.
him finding out who he is and finding love, and you killed it with one sentence in the movie.
literally, and that's life.
Yeah. Well, no, that's.
No,
but
yeah.
I bring that up to bring up the point. Like that whole summer, you guys are like, we're gonna make this work.
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
spent your entire senior year into college summer,
Yeah,
your whole senior year, your whole summer, thinking you're gonna make it work, and
Yeah.
then
Like
as with
hanging out.
Entourage, one line of your first week, and it's over.
it's like boom, done. Like I was like, and that kind of was like, I was like, oh, now I'm really getting fucked up because
Yeah.
like I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
And I was just like meeting girls. I was
Yeah,
like
you were.
hanging out, like, and I was doing comedy. I was doing like sketch and improv.
Yeah.
And the sketch and improv parties were like infamously like some of the biggest parties
That's crazy.
because like
It's all about environment.
yeah, because we would do 4 shows a year. We do a sketch show, then an improv show, then a sketch show, then an improv show. Or
And
not,
they were probably huge.
yeah. So like because it was like so far in few between, like we'd have a after party each
Well,
time.
just the campus. Like, it's
Exactly.
not like people are going to the football games. Like this
Yeah.
is what you have.
Exactly, like this is our thing. So it's
Yeah,
like
the coolest thing on campus is the coolest thing on campus.
Yeah.
Whether you go to fucking Texas or you go to where you went. Where'd you go?
Stevens.
It's so hard for me to
It's
remember.
really-
'Cause I've never heard of it before.
Nobody's ever heard of it. I didn't hear of it before I went there.
Normally people will throw out their college and I come back with a mascot like immediately.
Yeah.
Like my girlfriend went to Delaware. The first night we hung out, I go, Blue Hens, go
Yeah.
Blue Hens. But you're like Stevens. I'm like,
We're the
Steven
Ducks.
Rogers, the comic? I don't.
What's funny is we're the Ducks, and we actually had a pretty good football team way back in the day. Apparently,
Yeah.
like they were like part of the original Ivy League and stuff like that. However, there was like,
Comma.
yeah. Let's see, you went to private school too. There was this one big football game against like Harvard or something, and it was like the same day as like a like big math final, and like every student like skipped the math final. And,
So then
like,
they said no more
So then they're
football.
like, no more football team.
It's so funny you say that. There's a school in Florida called Stetson.
Yeah.
Mad Hatters. And I think they made the NCAA tournament in basketball a few years ago. So like some people know, but like growing up, Stetson was always like the small, like almost like liberal arts school nobody cared about.
Yeah.
Shout out to my cousin Tommy. He went there. But apparently this is the folklore. Back in like the 30s, they had a football team, and it's the only Florida football team that in one season beat FSU, Florida, and the University of Miami.
That's crazy.
All in one season. They went so bananas because of it. They like burned the town to the ground.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
college
yeah.
kids got fucked up and like destroyed everything.
Yeah.
The next year they banned the football
That's
team.
insane. I love that. Like the 30s must have been crazy because that's around the same
Yeah.
time that shit happened. Like,
Well, and it's crazy to me because it's like I lived in Florida my whole life. Like I played Division I college football in Florida, and like Stetson was an afterthought.
Yeah.
Like when kids went to Stetson, it was like, oh, you're too scared to like. Again, this isn't a shot at my cousin, but it was like, oh, you're too scared to like go to a big boy school like away
Yeah.
from home.
yeah,
So like because I lived in Daytona, so it was like if Gainesville was 3 hours away, Tallahassee was 8 hours away. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like Miami's 4 hours. I went to FAU, that's 4 hours.
yeah. Stevens
So,
is
like,
kind of similar. It's like kind of small and like a lot of kids.
you said it's
there
in
and-
Hoboken, yeah.
like,
So it's
local,
like right
yeah,
there, yeah. So it's
exactly.
the same kind of thing where it's like, oh, you're too scared to go to a big boy school.
Yeah,
But then come to find out, it's like, no, we used to fucking run shit, man.
yeah, exactly. And like, there's so many stories in like the history of that school. Is like, yeah, they used to do crazy shit. Like there was it's like they had a big like maritime history because like basically like the family that started it, they like were big into like making like steamboats. And like they would do like boat races on the Hudson.
Of course
like,
they would.
Yeah. Like they're like a rich, like
Yeah.
one of like the richest families, like one of like the last families in the north to have like slaves, like that
Yeah.
type of rich. And like
That's a great way to describe it.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, slavery was bad. We all know that, but that's a very succinct way to describe that.
They're just like, no, we're
the
gonna hold on
last
to them.
families in the North to have slaves.
Yeah.
That's how rich they were.
Exactly. Like they were like, nope, we're holding on to them.
No,
we don't care.
for all of you, it's bad. But we look at this house. We need them.
Come on, who's gonna build this?
Yeah.
And
I mean, people it takes to maintain a fucking 30,000 square
I
foot
mean, not
estate.
people, property.
Yeah. That's exactly right, David. You know, when your father and I. No, I'm just kidding.
Hey, man, fucking Cubans love Trump, man. So
Dude.
you might be onto something.
You said it, not me. I remember one time on the show, I was like, black people love my swagger. And my co-host from my sports podcast is this dude, Joe. We love Joe from Atlanta. And he immediately texted me. He goes, don't ever speak for us. And I was like, well, it was Trump. I was doing an impression.
Yeah,
Trump was doing
you didn't
it.
say it. Trump said it.
It's a
Gosh.
character. So for you, at this school, it's a party school we talked about.
Yeah.
You're doing the sketch and improv shows. Those are the biggest parties of the year.
Yeah,
Because again, like we said, if that's the thing that's happening on campus, that's the thing that's happening.
exactly.
So I guess what I'm trying to say is like, are your grades, because you said you were kind of on the cusp. So
Yeah.
are your grades suffering because you're partying?
I'm
Or are you
sure,
partying
for
because you're finally free from like all the expectations that you had in high
A
school?
little bit of both for
Okay.
sure. Like I'm definitely like I was like homework. Like why do homework when I can like drink a
Drink,
6-pack?
yeah.
So it's like, and then like also like I also didn't have the same expectations as high school because it's like,
Are you living on campus at the time?
yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
That's a huge, huge thing.
What like no one can tell you anything when you're living on campus. Like it does not matter. Like
It's pretty crazy.
you're looking at your own grades and matter. You're just like I just gotta not fucking bomb the final and
Yeah.
I'm good. And that's really all it really is. Like just
That's why I actually did better in college than I did in high school because I was in IB in high school, which is like a tough program.
Yeah, exactly.
But they still like some classes, they were like, oh, it's college prep, but they would still give you busy work. And I'm like an anti-busy work guy.
Yeah.
So like I would always get like C's and sometimes D's, which in Florida is passing. Shout out. But I would get like C's and D's because I'd be like, I'm not doing one page of calculus every single night.
Yeah.
Like fuck off.
That makes no sense.
Like
Yeah.
I know it. Just give me a test on it and I'll take the test. And in IB, your grades don't matter so much because it's all about your IB tests at the
Yep.
end of the year. So you could literally get straight Fs. But then if you pass the IB test, you still get your IB diploma.
Yeah,
That's what it's
exactly.
about.
Yeah, my school is an IB school too.
Okay,
actually.
yeah, so you understand
So
completely. You know, hardest classes in the world, no big deal.
is
It's
what
an
it is.
international program, but you know,
high prestige, but whatever.
whatever. But it was interesting because I got to college and they're like, and obviously political science and history were my majors, and they go, yeah, one paper, one midterm, one final. And I was like,
Yeah.
this is the tits, man.
Exactly.
I'm
Exactly.
just going to show up and pay attention.
And you barely gotta try too, because like my role model, like my motto in college was C's get degrees. I'm like that.
There you go.
That was so true. Like, yep. it's
I
like
remember
the
my
same-
senior year because I stopped playing football like going into my junior year, and I had a lot of problems. Like once I stopped playing football and I didn't have something to dump my addiction into, I started drinking even more.
Yeah.
And that's when everything fell off the rails. Like I gained 100 pounds. I was a full-blown alcoholic at this point. Like losing football like fucked my life up.
Yeah.
And I remember my senior year, I was so worried about not graduating. And I had this history professor who focused, my emphasis was on the Civil War. He taught the Civil War. So I had already taken him for like 5 classes.
Yeah.
And he knew I loved history and I was good at it. But by the time I was a senior, man, like I couldn't get it together enough
Yeah.
to go to class twice. It was twice a week. And I'd be lucky if I made one.
Yeah. No, I get that.
And so I was going to fail the class. And I knew I was going to fail the class. And I remember I sent him this email and I was like, you know me. Like we've had 5 classes together. I always sit in the front. You know how much I love history. I was like, I'm just going through it, my guy. Like, is there anything we can do? He goes, take the final. Whatever you get on the final is what I will give you as your final grade.
That's awesome.
And I got a C+ on the final. He
That's
gave me a C+.
perfect,
And I was
honestly.
like, I didn't do the midterm. I didn't do the 13-page paper.
Yeah.
I didn't do any of that, but I took the
Holy
final
shit.
and he passed. And I was like, fucking thank God,
Nice.
dude.
Nice.
I was
That's
like, well,
awesome.
what if I got an A on the final? Would you have given me an A for the whole class?
Dude, that's perfect. That's what the best shit about like kind of like having like that good relationship with
Yeah.
like,
Well,
like,
the thing is in college too, it's less about like we have to babysit you, and it's more about like we want you to know the information.
yeah, exactly. Like, can you just get it done? Can you just
Yeah.
like know? That's what I like about like when I enter the workforce too. Like, that's like my whole work style. I'm like, I don't give a shit about like the like minutia of how shit gets done. I just want shit to get done.
We don't
and,
have to do this 9 to 5 thing. Give me a list of things you want me to accomplish today, and I will do them.
Yeah, exactly. So that's like my favorite way to work right now. That's why I'm just like,
Yeah.
love what I'm doing. I'm just like, hell yeah, just gotta
You're like,
do this class.
I got an appointment, guys. I gotta go.
Yeah, literally. I'm like, as long as there's no class or like no meeting, I'm like,
I'm
like,
out
whatever.
later.
Like, yeah, exactly.
So I want to. So the triple fisting thing, does that happen in college?
Yeah, so that's in
what
college.
I thought.
So what I was trying to tell you is like the comedy parties were like the biggest, but then we also had a huge frat life, like I mentioned before. So like,
Oh yeah, we got so sidetracked. This
no,
is
no,
why
no,
I
it's
keep
cool.
the list.
It's cool. It's all right. We're both ADHD. It happens. But like, so one party was like my first semester sophomore year, or whatever. And I at this point I had like become like the secretary, or whatever, the comedy club, or whatever. So I had a position of leadership at this point.
Yeah.
So I had big boy pants and stuff. So we had organized it so that our after show party was at a frat.
Oh,
So like
smart.
that
Super
was
smart.
like two of the biggest already, like the biggest
Yeah.
like energies already. Like we just went crazy. So like literally I don't know why I was just like, oh, I'm gonna get the most fucked up I've ever been and probably will ever be after that. Like I think that was
I think I need to give myself alcohol poisoning.
literally that's what I did. And like that was like the first time I was like hospitalized
Yeah.
for alcohol. And dude, I walked into this party with a flask, like in my back pocket.
Fuck yeah, you did.
Because I had just gotten it. Like it was an R2D2 flask.
Love
and
it.
I was like, dude, the nerdy lady's gonna love this.
Yeah.
And
Who
fucking
doesn't love a little R2D, a little sassy droid? Who doesn't
Come
love a
on.
sassy droid?
come on, he's perfect shape, size, everything.
Yeah.
And I walk in, immediately grab a beer, and then immediately grab like a mixed drink from somewhere else
So
too.
you got the flask in the back pocket, a
That's-
beer, and a mixed drink.
So I'm triple fisted.
Yeah. Full disclosure to the listeners, when you sent me your list and I saw that at the very top, I go, man, I just talked about shit for like 20 minutes with that. Like, I don't want to do this.
Here-
And you were like,
Get ready
not
for
what
that.
you think. It's not what you think.
No, it's just, dude, that was me the whole night. And then someone did put 5 fists in my ass. No, I'm kidding. No. But it was like insane because that was like the most I've drank it, I think ever, like since even.
So you ended up going to the hospital.
Yeah, because I was like doing the beers in one hand, mixed drinks in another. I was doing Jaeger bombs for the first time in my life also. And then also they had like this ice like slide basically.
Luge.
Yeah, where you'd pour the drink.
Yeah,
and
it's
then-
an ice luge.
Exactly. See, you know words.
Gang, gang, baby. Florida.
This
We
is- this-
invented the ice luge.
This is educational. So I was doing that. I was just literally just doing rounds of beer, mixed drink, Jaeger bomb, luge, just doing that for hours. And then
That's how people die, you know, David.
yeah, and then I was like, oh, I should you know, maybe not get too drunk because like this girl. Like,
How far into, like, are you like an
I was
hour-
already gone.
Yeah, yeah.
I was already gone, and then
I should really watch what I drink.
like
Hammered out of your mind.
this girl that I was talking to, she like was supposed to come, but then she texted me. She's like, "Oh, like I'm not gonna be able to make it to like out there tonight." I was like, "Damn, well I guess I have no reason to like stay sober anymore." And then I really went over the dude. It was like so bad that like I needed like I think it was like 4 of my friends to like take me back to my dorm. But the problem is like they were like all like my like girlfriends who like
Yeah.
I don't think they've like really ever seen anybody like be that way. And like
You're like falling in.
dude, I was insane. And like I got to my dorm and just like immediately started throwing up in my like
Yep.
toilet. And then it got so bad that like they called the ambulance. Like, like he's so bad.
Because
like, because they were worried and stuff. And
there is a weird line, especially in college parties,
yeah.
because someone can be ostensibly like fucked up.
Yeah, exactly.
And you'll be like, they're fine.
yeah.
And I know this because I was the one who was always dancing on that line.
yeah.
But they'd be like, he's fine, he's fine. And then there is a point where even as college kids, they're like, somebody calls, like, he's not good anymore. Like, they're not good anymore.
Exactly. And like that was what's happening because I always got like pretty twisted, but like I was like really fucking
Yeah.
would not stop throwing up.
That's normally the telltale sign. Like, if you throw
Yeah.
up once or twice, they're like, lay him down in the bathroom and they'll be fine. If you're just like consecutively like, bah, bah,
Yeah,
bah,
like
they're
would not stop.
Yeah.
And then I got in like so much trouble because I was like still like 19 or 20 at the
And
time.
the
too.
ambulance showed up to the dorms?
Yeah. They came to the dorms and they were
That's
fucking campus PD and everybody was
so
there.
embarrassing.
And I
so embarrassing.
So embarrassing. The worst. The next day, everybody knew, and like everybody's like, "What was that ambulance outside?" Oh, it was me. And like I still had the fucking like
IV,
hospital.
yeah,
thing.
they put you IVs.
Oh
in
my
you.
god!
You gotta rehydrate you,
dude. I was like
charcoal into the stomach, baby.
I was flirting with the nurse the entire. That's all I remember. The nurse was like this really cute. She was either Italian or Colombian or something like that, and she was blonde. And I kept telling her,
Wow,
I was
that's a curveball.
yeah, I was
blonde Colombian. Let's go.
That's what I'm saying. I was like, she literally looked like you. She looked
¿Tú
like
hablas
Shakira.
español?
I don't know what I asked. I just kept saying, I was like, listen, I'm not gonna remember anything else from tonight, but I just know you're beautiful. And she just kept giggling and like being like,
Tú
thank
eres
you.
mi corazón.
Te amo. Like literally, and like my friends were telling me like to like stop like flirting with her.
Bailamos.
Let the rhythm take you over.
Bailamos.
And like literally, that's me. Would not stop. And then it's hilarious because like it wasn't until like years later I was like, what really made you guys like call the ambulance? Like, oh, because like you wouldn't stop puking, and then like it came up where like we started seeing like red chunks, and I was like, red chunks. I was like, yeah. I was like. We had
Mixed
pizza
drink.
at
Yeah.
the. I was like, yeah, we had pizza at the fucking comedy
False
show.
alarm,
I was
girls.
like, oh fuck. I mean, probably like I still probably needed it.
No,
but I was,
yeah, that's smart,
Like
but-
looking back, I was like, I probably could have just thrown up the pizza
And been, yeah.
and then been fine. 'Cause
Rebounded?
Yeah.
Just you do it 4 times. Like after the second time, they're like, he won't stop throwing up. And then the 4th time, you're like, I'm good.
There we go. I'm ready.
It's black, by the way. If you're throwing up black, that's alcohol poisoning.
Yeah.
Because I have done that.
Yeah, my brother's friend did that in fucking Dominican Republic.
It's like tar.
yeah.
Yeah, it's bad because it's your stomach acid will start to come out, and because you know this, obviously being a scientist, but because your stomach acid is so powerful, your throat will start to close up because it starts to swell.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's when you're like, oh, we got a problem.
Yeah, that's the worst actually.
Yeah.
Like that's a
It's
completely
like a
different thing.
dark brown black mucus. Anyway, I know that from
Yeah.
experience. 3
That
times.
I've never done. I've seen it happen, and I was
Still
like,
fucking
oh shit.
worst.
Yeah.
Because you're like, oh no. The first time it happens, you're scared because you don't know what's happening. The second time you go, fuck.
No.
Because you're like, my throat is going to be swollen shut. They're
Oh
going to
my
have to do
God.
all this shit. And they're going to have to shove the thing down my throat.
Yeah, literally.
It's
and
like, I hate this.
it's like really bad.
It's like
And
getting arrested your 3rd time. You're like, fuck, man. This is going to ruin my day.
my brother's friend like did like that happened to her in like DR for a wedding. Like we were drinking Mamawana and like
Drinking. Oh, I know this.
yeah, that's the shit that like you keep it in a bottle
Yeah.
for like years.
ID and Laura on the podcast we talked about.
Yeah,
it.
exactly. And oh my god, like that shit fucks you up. Like that
Yeah.
destroys you.
I wanted to ask you because you had mentioned something. You said it's not like the best story, but it is hilarious to me. What happened with the Uber thing? Because this is funny to me. Because
This
this
was
is a common theme in New
that's
York.
the most recent one actually.
Okay. That's
That was like a couple weeks ago. Again with college friends actually. The same like this kind of like the same group.
Bad
so,
influence.
Yeah, the terrible influence. One of my comedy friends, he got married a couple weeks ago. No, a month ago at this point.
Mazel tov.
Yeah, he's very happy. He's not Jewish. No, I'm kidding.
Neither am I.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
I think I have to go.
Listen, we control the banks. I can say that my girlfriend's Jewish. I'm allowed to say it.
And the media. No, I'm kidding. I can't say that.
Dude, whenever we hang out, if it's raining or something, I'm like, call your grandma. What the fuck is happening? She didn't know about that.
What?
Fun fact, she's Jewish. She grew up in a Jewish household. Her grandmother's, does the kosher, all that kind
Yeah.
of stuff. I told her about the like controlling the weather thing. She's like, well, I've heard of the media thing in the banks. I go, yeah,
Yeah.
the weather. You never heard of
They
this?
never looped her in?
And then she Googled. And she Googled it one day, and she goes, "It's like a thing.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
people think that." And I was like, "Yeah,
Yeah, like fully. Like not even not even
man.
ironically.
So you're in New York. He gets married, having a good time.
Yeah. So he got married. The wedding was at Liberty State Park in Jersey, like right across the Hudson, and open bar, which is
Huge mistake.
yeah, like especially if I'm gonna be there, like come on, bro, like you know better. And I don't know what it was. Like I just like it was like after a long week at work. It was like first of all, also like it was a Friday at 5 p.m. wedding. So like I'm literally coming right from work with everything from work. Like
I do that on a Saturday.
exactly like
Everyone can get together and have like a dinner on Friday and like party a little bit, but then Saturday you go into.
that's what I realized too. Like I'm like my wedding is gonna be on a Saturday. Fuck
My
that.
sister did hers. My older sister did hers on a Monday. One, because financially it made more sense,
Yeah.
but two, she was just like, our family can drink. She's like, I don't need everyone staying in a hotel all weekend getting fucking hammered.
That's fair.
Like,
yeah.
come in on Sunday. We'll do the wedding on Monday. You're out by
You're out.
Tuesday.
See, that's
because everyone's got work to get back to.
That makes sense. Yeah, like because I feel like there's two ways to do it. Because like my cousin did like the opposite, where it was like, okay, we all party, so we're just spending the weekend in a DR.
Yeah,
because like,
and then
it's a safe place where we could just
people get fucking alcohol poisoning.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, like it was in a safe place, kind of basically.
Yeah.
It's like, well, we're on a beach at least.
It's fun. Sun's out.
The water's right there.
Yeah,
and I mean, like. Everybody got fucked up that weekend. It was like fine, but this wedding, my friend's wedding, I don't know, it was open bar, so I just like kept knocking back old fashions, like at the cocktail hour, and then they also had like a espresso martini like special.
Oh yeah,
because that was like the
wedding drink.
Yeah, exactly. Like the him drink was this espresso martini. That's what I try to say, but whatever. They're from Jersey, and and then like dinner happened, and then like. They had the wine, and for some reason I kept being like, "Yo, just keep bringing like the wine." Like I just kept telling them, they're like,
when you're feeling good, you're like, I just got off of work.
Yeah,
we're celebrating. You're getting married. Let's
exactly.
Do it.
They're like, the champagne is just for toast. I'm like, yeah, I'm toasting right now. Like
this whole thing is a toast.
Exactly.
Let's keep toasting.
And I literally was like,
triple fisting all over again.
Yeah, literally like that's what I was doing. I was literally triple fisting again, and then like got to the end of the night, and the bride was also really fucked up. So. My friend was like, okay, we're going to go back to, like, our place for a bit for, like, a nightcap if you want. And I was like, nah, like, I can't anymore. You guys go ahead.
I'm done.
I'm just going to order an Uber. I could not order an Uber.
You couldn't?
Literally, like, I was like, man, I can't figure this shit out.
Okay, so I thought, like, you got there and the Uber was like, fuck no. But
both.
Yeah,
both.
okay.
So my friend takes the phone from... And my favorite thing about so many of these stories is, like, they're about me, but I heard them secondhand.
Yeah,
because like I don't remember this shit.
You've totally been there.
So like my friend like takes my phone and like he's like, this is not the Lyft app. Like you're on fucking Grubhub. Like
you're like, I need to eat something
before I go home.
I gotta eat something.
So then I did
I'm
call.
so drunk.
I did call an Uber, and then like the Uber was that first Uber was like, no, like he can't come in here. So then that Uber went. And like we called another one, and I was like, "You guys go ahead. I'll be fine. This one I'll get in. I'm all put together." So they're like, "Okay, like whatever. Like we trust you." So then like they left, and I go. The Uber comes, and literally I could not find the Uber. I'm like, it's Liberty State Park. There's only like one parking lot, and I'm just like, where is this Uber? Where the fuck is this Uber? And he was like right in front of me, but I wasn't getting in it.
Oh my god.
So then he was like, "All right, well fuck it, like." I'm gone.
Yeah.
Dude, like literally like I keep like ordering and like to the point where I'm like, dude, like my account's like, all right, no. You can't
How did
order
you get
anymore.
home?
So then I call my friend Angie, who I know from like, she's literally just like a friend that I have from going to Yankee Stadium because I'm a big baseball guy.
Yeah.
Always there. She's like, her name begins with an A, first number in my fucking.
Are you fucking kidding me?
I was like,
are you fucking kidding me?
I was like, listen, Angie.
You phone booked the thing?
Literally, I was like,
this is why there's AAA Automotive.
I was like, boom, okay, cool, we got it, AA. And I was like, Angie, I need you to figure out a way to help me get home.
I need to get home.
She calls my brother. My brother like
comes in.
brings me back to my place, and it's like,
Dude, those little details though, I love.
Dude. I like woke up. I literally woke up. The last thing I remember is like my friend being like, "You want to come back to like for nightclub?" Me being like, "Nah," and I wake up like on my couch, just like in my underwear. I'm like, "What the fuck?" Like my suit just in my living room, just sprayed or kind of like,
yeah.
Like, dude, I always know like I had like a good night drinking because like it'll look like Cell from Dragon Ball Z came through my apartment.
Yeah.
It's like, why is there like full outfits everywhere? It's like he was just absorbing niggas, like,
dude. All right, we got time for one more.
Let's do it.
Because I know you got to get back to work.
What time it is?
Let's do. What time is it?
It's 1:21.
Okay, we're good. We're good. Let's do the 6 tabs of acid, and then we'll get you out of here.
Oh,
and then
yeah,
you got to
yeah,
come
yeah.
back.
Oh, yeah.
Mom in Vegas, July 4th, RBG. We still have a lot of stuff.
Oh,
to get
so
to.
many.
So
The
we're gonna have
RBG
to
one
come
we
back.
could do quickly actually if we want.
Let's
to.
do the 6 tabs, and then we'll have you back.
Yeah, sounds good.
Got to save something. Got to keep them wanting more.
Hell yeah, of course. 6 tabs of acid. That was hilarious because like around salt.
We'll actually pivot. Do you want to save the 6 tabs for when you come back, and then we'll do RBG now? It's up to you. It's your story.
Let's do 6 tabs and then we'll do RPG.
Got it.
Yeah. So 6 tabs of acid. That like sophomore year of college, like I had a roommate who was just like a like drug head, like every
enthusiast.
Yeah, exactly. And like we kind of hang out. Like I feel like a lot of those kids were like all very druggy because also like science. So like a
Yeah.
lot of kids were like very like oh yeah,
the
like
way you said, also science.
yeah, they're like really nerdy about it. Like they're like, oh, like this is the perfect DMT, like whatever. Like
Yeah, the
kids,
perfect
like,
strain of the
yeah, like kids would like make their own like nicotine the fluid or whatever.
Oh, really?
Like you put in the vapes. Like they
okay,
like get
yeah,
the vapes
yeah,
and, like
the oils and stuff.
yeah, exactly. Like dudes were like doing crazy shit in that school. So like at that time, me and him like both went in on like 2 sheets of acid to just like sell and like just like have money for like
chip
other
off
shit.
the old block, huh?
Yeah, exactly. And
Dad, nobody does coke anymore. It's not the 80s. We're doing acid now.
everybody was doing acid. Everybody was into self-fulfillment and whatever the fuck.
Yeah, being sober, I hear this all the time about like, you got to do your mushroom trip, bruh. I'm like, shut the fuck
And
up.
everybody would be like, oh, let me get one time. I'm gonna microdose. I'm like, that's like when I first found out about microdosing. I was
First
like,
of all,
sure,
if you're
whatever.
going to microdose, do it with shrooms. You don't microdose with acid. Everyone,
Yeah, these are college kids.
learn
like-
your drugs, you idiots.
And my friend was just like, he's like, you know what? He's like, I've always wanted to just like see how much acid I can do. He's like, I'm gonna start. He's like,
I'm getting anxious. You just saying
yeah,
this.
dude. He's like, I'm gonna take half a strip. Which is a strip is like like out of a sheet is like 100 tabs.
Yep.
A strip is just 10 of those.
And you're
basically.
doing just the tabs.
Yeah.
You're not doing the droppers or anything. Just
no,
the tabs.
just the tabs. So he's like, I'm gonna do half a strip, and he does half the strip, and then like half an hour in, he's like, fuck it, I'm gonna just pop one more in. I was like, literally.
So he has 5, and then he's
Yeah,
like,
he
I'm going to do
does
1
6.
more.
And like literally that whole time he is like a corpse. Like people literally were coming in and out of my room being like as if like they were like watching
Like a memorial.
yeah, exactly.
Like a wake. Yeah.
Like they were coming to see like Lenin in that glass box or something. Like
Yeah.
I'm like, no. And I'm like, and then at the
It's
same
an open casket. You guys are more than welcome to come in.
he's literally just like on his bed. And like we like tried fucking with him on the come up too. We're like, oh Carlo, you didn't do your dishes. You didn't do your dishes while you before you
James is going to get pissed, man. You got to do the dishes.
And he like took it as like this like whole like fucking existential thing. He's like, my whole life I never did the dishes.
Oh, my God. Oh, I hate this. I hate everything about this.
We're like, oh no, that's not what we meant. So he was just like in a fucking hole, just like thinking.
That's
thinking
why
about
my
that.
mom doesn't love me. I never did the dishes.
And then while this all happening, also, I start getting texts from back home. Everyone's like, hey, have you seen Crystal? She's this girl I grew up with who like just like lived down the block.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, no, why? They're like, oh, she ran away from home today. And I was like, wait, what? She was also my age. So I was like hearing like, oh, a 19-year-old ran away from home.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the fuck?
Call that
happened?
moving out where I'm from, but okay.
Yeah, exactly. But they're like, oh no, she just like had a fight with her mom, stormed out, and like just like went towards like the river, and like nobody has seen her since. And I'm like, oh fuck,
That's
oh fuck.
scary.
Yeah. So I'm there, and like I had taken like
I was just about to ask, have you done any acid?
yeah. I didn't do 6 tabs, but I took a tab.
We wouldn't be
that
having this conversation. If
Yeah,
you
yeah,
did something.
exactly.
Your brain gets fucking
I'd still be thinking about
rewired.
dishes. Yeah.
Yeah. So you do one, you hear about Crystal, and then your friend is like, oh, and this is the thing. This is what has always scared me about psychedelics is they can rewire your brain.
Oh yeah.
So like I know people who have like cousins that took too much acid and now they're schizophrenic. Like
Yeah.
I have people I know,
And I could so easily see that.
yeah.
Cause like literally the entire time I'm like, oh, this is happening because like we did this.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, like
We did this. You did this.
Yeah, literally, I'm like, oh, like she ran away from home. Like everything's gonna start like going to shit now, because like he did 6 episodes of acid.
What
and
happens?
I wanna
What happens to him?
Dude, he is just there, fucking does not move for like acid trip lasts 12 hours. 10 of those hours he's on his bed just looking up. We had like Christmas lights and shit,
Of course.
and like fucking all this shit, and he's just like looking up, and he's like, I'm like, yo, Carlo, like we need to like I was like, yo, shit might be going down at home for me. He's like, yeah, man, I can't really deal with any of that right now.
I thought for sure he's gonna go. Yeah, man, you got to do the dishes.
No, he's like, he was still thinking about the dishes. He was like, then he like starts getting on me. He's like, you really fucked me up with that. That wasn't cool. I'm like, oh no. I'm like, now I'm getting like ostracized.
Yeah. And you're fucked up too. So you're like,
And I
come
fucked
on,
up.
man.
I'm like, dude, I feel like a fucking demon. And then my other dude, and then oh my god, that was like one of the craziest nights.
Did he survive?
He survived, and then it's
Is
hilarious.
he okay?
He's fine now, actually.
Okay.
He works in business whatever.
Administration.
So glad he didn't have a different
Yeah,
major.
if you had a real major.
Yeah.
Boom, shots fired. Suck it.
Dude, and I realized like things were so bad because like we started then coming to, and like my friend was okay, like they found
Crystal
her.
was all right?
Crystal was okay.
Good.
Like after like hours.
Shout out
like,
Crystal.
Yeah, literally like hours of like everyone like we don't know where she is. Like
Well, we're talking about, this isn't like fucking a gated community in like, Georgia. We're talking about
like Harlem, like
yeah.
right there, like, and we're just like
walking towards the river. People disappear in the city all the time.
yeah, and I'm like,
You
I
ever
don't.
seen Batman?
And like my mom's talking to her mom. I'm like, I don't even want to call my mom.
Yeah.
Like, and like all my friends, I didn't even
I'm so sorry about the dishes.
I didn't even tell any of my friends. I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna. Now I always do the fucking dishes, but
Yeah.
I did them right before I fucking left the house. And like, dude, I realized we're in too deep because like that all happened, and then that same like we started coming back down, and like we're chill in our room, and then like we still had like all this acid cells and like people who had like
Time to go to work.
Yeah, so like we had people who had been like trying to reach us because like they had ordered some and like they were trying to come to the door and pick it up.
And no one was answering that door.
No, I don't know. Like, like I was not checking my phone at
No.
all. At one point, I was like doodling, and like my friend had to like take the notebook away from me because I started just drawing circles like over and over again. And she's like, "No, you're gonna like get stuck
It's
in
a
a loop."
plate.
This is what I need to wash.
It's a clean plate.
Wait, it could be a plate or bubbles. Like, see? And this girl comes in, and
Kicks out the door with that fucking acid.
yeah, she's like really upset, and we're like, yo, like your vibe's really like weird, like.
Fuck off.
We're like, what are you on? And she's like, I'm not on anything. I just took 2 lines of Coke, an Adderall. Like, she started naming like,
Oh my God.
and she's like, and I just want my acid. I was like, and we gave her the acid, and I was like, yo. And then like she left, I was like, yo, we're selling this shit. I'm never doing this shit again.
Yeah, fuck
I was
that.
like, we're never doing this shit again. Like, fuck that.
I'm so scared of psychedelics.
Like, dude, that's when I realized I was like, oh yeah, this is an actual beast. Like, because I could definitely, I mean, I don't know if he's if he's going through shit now. We kind of like had a falling out like the year after because it was just like
Yeah.
too much shit. Like,
Oh, really? You don't say. The guy who took 6 tabs of acid's a little unstable?
Funny enough,
Really?
we ended up getting into a fight because he wouldn't do the dishes. I was like, see, you
Seriously?
should have listened. Yeah.
That's hilarious. Dude.
Yeah, 'cause we ended up fucking like getting a mouse, and I got really upset because I was like, dude, like,
This is your fault because you
Literally.
didn't clean. Yeah, dude, that's
so like
hilarious.
came full circle.
Dude, that's so funny.
Yeah.
Man, this was a ton of fun.
This is
when you
great.
come back on, we got RBG, 4th of July, mom and sister in Vegas. We got to talk about the wedding in DR some more.
Oh yeah.
We
The
got
wedding-
a lot to do.
The
But
wedding in DR was fun.
yeah, plug
yeah.
everything one more time. Social media, the whole thing.
I'm David Estrada. You can find me at Allegory of the Dave. It's a play of Allegory of the Cave, Plato, if anybody's that much
Come
of a
on,
nerd.
let's go.
Come on. And I got a show up in the Bronx, Arthur Avenue, Freshly Baked Dispensary.
January 10th.
January 10th.
Boom,
Yep.
that'll be in the show notes. Thank you, everybody, so much for listening. At Brennan T. Comedy on all social media, BrennanTComedy.com. Check out the one-man show, Ex-Drinking Buddy at Comics Look at Life, Near-Death Recovery, and Redemption. We'll talk to y'all next week.
Hell yeah. Thank you, man.
Dude, this was fun.